Listen carefully, chosen ones. I don't know where you are right now. Maybe you're lying in bed, sitting in your car, or scrolling through your phone in silence. But I believe this moment isn't a coincidence. You didn't just stumble on this message. This isn't just another post or video. Something bigger is happening. You've been called here for a reason. This moment has been set apart for you, chosen one. Heaven has paused everything just to speak to your heart. Maybe you've been wondering why your prayers seem unanswered, why your faith feels tested while others seem to have it easier, why doors stay closed for you while they swing open for others. If that sounds like your life, you're not alone. And more importantly, you're not being punished. You're being positioned. Everything you've gone through isn't random. It's been shaping you for something important. Take a breath. Slow down. That feeling rising up inside you, the warmth, the emotion, the pressure in your chest, that's not just your imagination. That's the Holy Spirit. You're not just reading a message, you're hearing a call. This moment has been set aside for you. You are led here not by chance, but by divine direction. Because now is the time. Just a few nights ago, I had a dream. No, more than a dream. It was a vision. It woke me up in the middle of the night, and I knew God was speaking. The message was clear. It's time to tell them everything. So here I am, not to preach, but to share. Not to entertain, but to speak life into your situation. This message isn't general. It's personal. It's not vague. It's direct. And it's for the one who's been silently crying, asking, why me? You've been walking through heavy things that others don't see. You've been carrying a weight that would have broken most people. But not you, because you've been chosen. Heaven has not forgotten you. You're not behind. You're not lost. You're right on time. You've been trained in secret for a purpose that's about to be revealed. Right now, something deep in your spirit is awakening. Maybe you feel a tingling, a soft whisper, or a sense of peace. That's not just emotion, it's confirmation. It's your soul responding to truth. Something inside you knows this moment is holy. You felt different your whole life, haven't you? Like you were never meant to blend in. That's because you weren't. You've been set apart. If this message is stirring something inside you, pause and acknowledge it. Some people have commented with 999, a number that means something ending and something new beginning. That's not superstition. That's spiritual alignment. Typing that number isn't just reacting. It's a way of saying, yes, I received this. I'm ready. You don't need to understand everything yet. Just be willing to say yes. Before I go on, I want to thank everyone who supported this journey. Whether you've shared messages, donated, or simply listened, your presence matters. You've helped bring words of hope to people around the world. If you feel led to support, thank you. If not, that's okay too. Just know, I'm glad you're here. This moment is not about money. It's about purpose. And yours is calling. Now, back to you. You've had moments where you felt something unseen pulling at you. Maybe you've walked into a room and felt like something was already there. Maybe in the quiet, you've wondered if your life has a deeper meaning. Let me tell you, yes, it does. You're not just living day to day. You're on assignment. There's something God placed inside you before you were born. And that purpose is waking up now. Why has your journey been so hard? Why does it feel like life has pressed on you in such specific, personal ways? It's because you were made for more. The fire you walked through wasn't to destroy you. It was to refine you. In the Bible, Esther was told, maybe you were born for such a time as this. That's not just her story. It's yours. You weren't randomly born. You were sent. God whispered to me last night, the wait wasn't punishment. It was preparation. The fire didn't burn them. It revealed what couldn't be destroyed. Maybe your whole life has been a secret training ground. Maybe every heartbreak, every closed door, every quiet night of crying, it all meant something. It all built you. The Bible says in Jeremiah 1:5, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. That's not just beautiful words. That's true. God knew you before you were even alive. He designed you for something special. Look at your hands. Look at your heart. Look at your scars. They're not signs of damage. They're signs of destiny. You were made to carry what others can't even imagine. You feel things deeply. You notice pain in others. You sense things before they happen. That's not weird. It's a gift. You've been different because you were designed differently. Your life wasn't meant to look like everyone else's. That explains the loneliness. That explains the pressure. But you're not alone in this. Others have walked this path. Moses was in the wilderness for 40 years. Not because he failed, but because God was getting him ready. Joseph was betrayed and thrown into a prison. Not because his dream was a lie, but because it needed time to grow. David was anointed as king, but had to hide in caves. Not because God changed his mind, but because David was still being shaped. Even Elijah, who called fire from heaven, got tired and felt like giving up. So what if your hard seasons weren't signs of failure, but of preparation? What if what felt like being left out was really being pulled aside to grow? You haven't been left behind. You've been hidden on purpose. Romans 8:16 says, the Spirit testifies with our spirit that we are God's children. That's why deep down, you've always felt there was something more. That quiet voice inside you that wouldn't let you settle, that was God. That was your spirit remembering something your mind forgot. And this doesn't just apply to Bible figures. Look at history. Harriet Tubman was born into slavery, but followed divine visions to lead others to freedom. People called her crazy, but she said, I'm holding steady to God, and He'll see me through. She had a calling, just like you. Viktor Frankl survived a Nazi death camp. He lost everything, his family, his dignity, his freedom. Yet he said, when we can't change the situation, we must change ourselves. He turned pain into purpose and helped millions. His message was born in fire. Terry Fox lost his leg to cancer, but still ran across Canada to raise money and hope. Anything's possible if you try, he said. His body was weak, but his spirit was fueled by something greater. And Sojourner Truth, a woman who escaped slavery and became a preacher and fighter for justice. When she spoke, people listened, not just because of her words, but because her voice carried something divine. So I ask again, do you really believe your life is just a random set of struggles? Or are those struggles actually signs that you were chosen? Are they proof that your life matters more than you know? Everything you've walked through has been shaping you, not to break you, but to build you. You've been growing in silence, becoming stronger, wiser, deeper. And now, God is saying, it's time. Chosen one, you didn't miss your moment. You are the moment. Everything in your life has led to now. The door you've been waiting on is about to open. The prayers you thought were ignored have been heard. The pain you felt wasn't wasted. It was woven into your purpose. This message wasn't meant for everyone. It was meant for you. And you know it. You can feel it. Don't let doubt talk you out of what faith brought you into. The shift is happening now. The enemy didn't go after you by accident. He saw something special in you. He saw your future, the person you would become once you realized your true worth. That's why he threw so much pain your way. Disappointments, betrayals, depression, and exhaustion were all part of his plan to break you. But here's the truth. He wasn't scared of your past. He was scared of who you're becoming. That's why the battles in your life felt so personal. But you're still standing. You're still here. Do you know why? Because God has been protecting you all along. While you were wondering if anyone up there was listening, heaven was already working behind the scenes. Every single tear you cried, every sleepless night, every time you felt hopeless, it was seen. It mattered. None of it was ignored. In fact, the Bible says in Revelation 5:8 that every prayer is kept in golden bowls in heaven. That means every whisper, every cry, every groan you couldn't put into words, it was saved. God didn't forget you. He's been preparing you. And now he's saying, you're ready. Can you feel that? That deep feeling in your chest? It's not anxiety. It's your soul waking up. It's your spirit coming alive. You are being pulled into your purpose. The time for waiting is over. This message isn't just to motivate you. It's a wake-up call. Have you ever felt like something or someone has been watching over you? Not in a scary way, but in a way that made you feel protected? That's because you've never been alone. Angels, ancestors, and spiritual guardians have been with you, walking beside you, watching over your journey. You're not just anyone. You're important. In Isaiah 60:1, it says, "Arise, shine, for your light has come." That's not just pretty poetry, it's a command. You were born to shine. But here's the hard truth. The world doesn't always welcome the light. Sometimes it makes people uncomfortable. But you weren't made to fit in. You were made to stand out. So will you keep hiding and shrinking, or will you finally rise into who you were created to be? Every time someone rejected you, it was really God redirecting you. Every time a door closed, it wasn't the end, it was protection. You weren't being punished. You were being positioned. All the hard times, all the heartbreaks were part of the preparation. You were never meant to dim your light just because others are more comfortable in the dark. You are chosen. In this very moment, this message might just be the turning point you've been waiting for. Your life has felt heavy for a reason. Maybe you've often felt like you didn't belong, even with people who love you. Maybe you felt too different, too deep, too intense. That's because what you felt as pain was often actually prophecy. It was your spirit responding to a bigger calling. The enemy didn't want you to see this. He wanted to keep you blind, confused, and silent. Because he knows, once you wake up, nothing can stop you. That's why your life felt like a battlefield. That's why the storms came so early and so strong. You were marked from the very beginning. Long before you were born, God knew you. In Jeremiah 1:5, it says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you." That's not just a verse. It's a fact. God didn't just choose you, He designed you. Everything you've gone through has been shaping you for what's coming. Your pain wasn't pointless. Your struggles weren't random. They were sharpening your spirit, training your heart, preparing you to walk in purpose. Have you ever felt like you could just tell when someone was lying? Or that you could feel things that others seem to ignore? That's not in your head. That's not paranoia. That's spiritual awareness. It's part of your calling. You've always had a gift, whether you realized it or not. And now that gift is waking up. Look at the story of David. Even his own father didn't believe in him. When the prophet came to choose a new king, David was left out in the field. But God chose him anyway. Because while others saw a boy, God saw a king. You may have felt forgotten or underestimated, but heaven hasn't forgotten you. Your time is coming. Think back on your life, those moments when something just in time saved you. that strength you had when you thought you were at your limit. Those weren't coincidences. That was God. That was your marking. You've been guided and guarded even when you didn't know it. The enemy noticed your light early. That's why your childhood may have been filled with chaos or pain. That's why you felt out of place, why your emotions ran deep. You've carried something sacred inside you, and the enemy tried everything to make you believe it was a curse. But it's not. It's your divine signature. Think about Gideon. He was scared, hiding, full of doubt. But God called him a mighty warrior before he ever acted like one. That's how God sees you. Not for who you are now, but for who you're becoming. He speaks to your destiny, not your mistakes. Stop apologizing for being strong. Stop hiding your depth. Have you ever sat in a room full of people and still felt alone? Have you ever felt tears that never even reached your eyes, just a deep pain in your chest? That's not isolation. That's consecration. You are being set apart. You're not average. And your life will never be ordinary. Right now, something in you might be stirring. Maybe you're crying. Maybe you feel warmth, chills, or just a sudden calm. That's your spirit saying, "This is for me." Romans 11:29 says God's gifts and callings are never taken back. No matter what's happened to you, what God placed in you is still there, waiting. Look at real people whose lives show what being marked looks like. Frederick Douglass was born a slave. He secretly taught himself to read and became one of history's strongest voices for freedom. Corrie ten Boom helped Jews escape during the Holocaust and ended up in a concentration camp. Her whole family died, but she forgave and shared hope around the world. Nick Vujicic was born with no arms or legs and wanted to die. Today, he inspires millions with his message of faith and purpose. Bethany Hamilton lost her arm to a shark as a teenager, but she didn't stop surfing. Instead, she used her loss to inspire others. These people weren't perfect. They were marked. So stop comparing yourself. Stop doubting your worth just because others don't see it. God sees you. Always has. 1 Peter 2:9 says, "You are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession." That's not a maybe, it's a fact. Even your flaws are a part of your purpose. Moses stuttered. Esther was an orphan. Joseph was betrayed and sold as a slave. And still, all of them were chosen. God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. Right now, something is shifting. The dreams, the ideas, the hopes you buried long ago, they're coming back to life. You're not who pain made you. You're who God made you. And He's calling you back to yourself. The real you. Sometimes life feels heavier than it should. You carry more than your share, holding your family together, keeping commitments, showing up strong even when you feel weak. You stay silent while others break down. You hold people together while quietly falling apart. And through all of it, you rarely get recognition or thanks. But what if all of this isn't a punishment? What if it's actually a sign that you've been chosen for something greater? It's easy to think being strong means you don't need help, but that's a lie. The truth is, you've been given strength because you were made to carry things others couldn't. People may never notice your silent sacrifices, but heaven sees everything. You weren't chosen for comfort. You were chosen for impact. That's why your journey hasn't been easy, because your purpose isn't small. Look at Joseph from the Bible. His own brothers betrayed him, threw him into a pit, and sold him into slavery. He ended up in prison for something he didn't do. Most people would have given up, but Joseph kept believing, and in the end, he told those who hurt him, "You meant to harm me, but God used it for good." His pain wasn't a mistake, it was preparation. Every dark moment shaped him for the role he was meant to play. saving lives, and leading a nation. David had a similar path. Before he wore the crown, he was hiding in caves, running from a king who wanted him dead. People he trusted turned on him. He cried out to God, asking, "Have you forgotten me?" That doesn't sound like the life of a future king. But that pain didn't break him, it shaped him. God was getting him ready not just to lead, but to lead with compassion, strength, and wisdom. Moses, too, had a rough path. He started in a palace, but ended up in the wilderness for 40 years. He probably felt forgotten, like his life had no direction. But God was watching. He saw the pain of the Israelites and called Moses to rescue them. The years in the wilderness weren't wasted, they were training. God wasn't punishing Moses. He was preparing him for something powerful. The same goes for you. You've stood strong when everything around you was falling apart. You've been the one people turned to, the one who kept things going. You've forgiven people who never said sorry. You've carried others' burdens without anyone offering to carry yours. And while the world might not see it, heaven sees every moment. You're not weak. You're not overlooked. You are chosen. Foundations aren't beautiful. They're buried deep in the ground. But everything depends on them. Without them, nothing stands. You are a foundation. People may not notice you, may not thank you, but without you, things fall apart. Your strength doesn't come from being praised. It comes from being built for more. You've probably felt like you didn't belong, even around people who love you. Like you were made for something more. Like you notice things others miss, feel things others ignore. That's not a flaw. That's your calling. You weren't made to blend in. You were made to lead, to carry, to endure, and to rise above. When there's a crisis, people always seem to turn to you. You may not understand why, but deep down, you know you were built for more than survival. You were built to make a difference. But your strength wasn't formed in public. It was shaped in silence, in late-night prayers, private tears, and battles no one else knew you were fighting. Every tear you cried in secret, every moment of heartbreak and stress, it was all part of the process. None of it was wasted. You've been growing stronger, wiser, more faithful. Why? Because you've been getting ready to carry something powerful, something that couldn't be rushed. This isn't just something spiritual, it's something real. Look at Florence Nightingale. She wasn't just a nurse. She changed the world of medicine by stepping into danger when no one else would. Or Winston Churchill, he was dismissed and mocked, but when the world needed a leader, he rose to the occasion. Not because he was perfect, but because he was prepared. Serena Williams was doubted, judged, and underestimated, not just as a woman, but as a Black woman in sports. Yet she didn't just win trophies, she inspired a generation. Her strength went far beyond tennis. And think of Stephen Hawking. His body was failing, but his mind reshaped how we see the universe. He turned what looked like a limitation into a legacy. So now, look at yourself. Everything you've gone through, every disappointment, every delay, it wasn't meaningless. It was training. You might feel like you've been walking in circles, waiting for a breakthrough that never comes. But listen, your moment is close. Something is shifting. You may not see it yet, but it's already moving in the spiritual world. In the story of Jericho, God told the Israelites to march around the city for 6 days. On the seventh day, they marched 7 times and then shouted, and the walls came down. Not because they used weapons, but because they followed God's instruction. They obeyed, even when it felt strange. Maybe you've been praying around your own walls, emotional pain, money problems, broken relationships, past trauma. And maybe those walls haven't fallen yet. But what if they're about to? What if all that walking, all that praying, all that waiting was leading up to your 7th day? But here's the catch. Obedience matters. Maybe the breakthrough hasn't come because something inside you hasn't fully aligned yet. Maybe you've been holding on to things you need to let go. Maybe fear, doubt, or delay has kept you from moving forward. Now is your time, not to wish, but to believe. Not to sit still, but to act. These next 7 days are not ordinary. They're spiritually important. God isn't just turning a page, He's starting a new chapter in your life. If you listen closely, you can already feel it. That tug in your heart, that quiet urgency, that's not just emotion. That's confirmation. Things are beginning to change. What once felt stuck is starting to move. What once felt closed is opening. And it's happening faster than you think. But it's not magic. It's obedience. You have to respond. Your next step might be simple, but powerful. Right now, take a moment to write today's date. On your phone, in a notebook, anywhere. This isn't just for memory. It's a spiritual step. You're saying to God, I'm ready. I believe. I'm all in. Just like the Israelite steps were measured and meaningful, this step is your act of faith. You've waited long enough. You've cried enough. You've hoped and believed through seasons of silence. And now, heaven is saying, it's time. You're not just about to be free, you're about to be launched. Your pain didn't just prepare you for peace. It prepared you for purpose. Don't let fear keep you stuck. Don't wait for someone else to give you permission. You've already been called. And sometimes, waiting is not holy, it's hesitation. We call it waiting on God, but deep down, we're afraid of what full obedience might cost. God is on the move. That's not the question. The real question is, will you move with Him? Will you say yes to the invitation and step into the purpose He's prepared for you? Because the opportunity won't wait forever. Doors that God opens don't stay open endlessly. Sometimes they close, and when they do, it's not always because He changed His mind. Sometimes it's because we waited too long to act. Let me tell you a true story that brings this idea to life. Years ago, there was an elderly woman in my church named Martha. She was 78 and had felt a strong pull in her heart for years to start a support group for widows. She believed God had put it on her heart, but she kept delaying. I'm not ready, she'd say. Or maybe after the holidays. Excuses piled up. Time passed. And then, 3 weeks before she had a severe stroke, she finally started the group. Just 3 weeks. Today, the group still exists and helps many women. But someone else now leads it. And Martha, who dreamed of that ministry for decades, watches from the sidelines, tears in her eyes. She knows it was meant to be hers. It was her assignment, her crown, but she waited too long. This happens more often than you think. I've seen so many people miss their moments. They pray for God to speak, and when He does, they freeze. They ask for signs, and when signs come, they explain them away. They plead for direction, but when direction shows up, they say, maybe later. Here's the truth. Delay can cost you more than disobedience. Waiting too long to act can rob you of the very thing you've been praying for. You might be standing right now in front of an open door, but you're hesitating. Maybe you're unsure. Maybe you're afraid. But God's not looking for perfect people. He's just looking for someone willing to say, yes. Look at Moses. When God spoke to him through the burning bush, Moses had a list of excuses. I can't speak well. I'm not the right person. He even asked God to send someone else. So God did. He sent Aaron to help. And because of that, Moses ended up sharing a mission that could have been his alone. What was supposed to be his full reward became something he had to split. When we delay, we often end up giving away part of our inheritance. So here's something simple but powerful. Get a piece of paper. Write today's date at the top, and in big letters underneath, write, "No more delay." That may sound small, but it's a big step. It's your way of saying to God, "I'm ready. I won't hold back anymore. If you tell me to go, I'll go. If you ask me to speak, I'll speak." No more second guessing. No more letting fear wear the mask of wisdom. Because when you align your life with God's timing, everything starts moving. Doors open. Resources come. Healing flows. Relationships are restored. It's not magic, it's movement. But the longer you hesitate, the more your spirit gets used to saying no. And if you ignore God's voice long enough, it gets harder to hear it at all. Think about Vincent van Gogh. He painted over 2,000 works of art, but in his lifetime, he sold almost none of them. He died thinking he was a failure. But imagine if he never painted at all, just because people weren't buying his work. The world would have missed his gift. The same is true for you. Maybe nobody sees you now. Maybe no one is clapping. But your obedience isn't about applause. It's about purpose. It's about finishing what you were born to do. Or think about Amelia Earhart. People told her flying was too dangerous for women. She didn't wait for approval or perfect conditions. She stepped out. She flew. She made history. And her story reminds us, real obedience usually isn't safe, but it's always powerful. You are standing at a turning point. It's not about learning more or waiting for another confirmation. It's about deciding. Will you stay stuck or will you move forward into your calling? Just like the people of Israel stood at the edge of the Jordan River, you're standing at your riverbank. Will you step in and watch God part the waters? Or will you stay dry, safe, and stuck? Today begins your countdown. Not next week. Not when you feel more ready. Today. Right now. Because what's about to fall isn't just a barrier. It's every lie you've believed. Lies that said you're too late, not good enough, or that this life isn't for you. Those lies are coming down. And when they do, you're not just stepping into a promise, you're stepping into your purpose. The choice is yours. What you do in the next day could affect the next 2 decades. Yes, it's that serious. Heaven is leaning in, watching, waiting to see if you'll finally rise into who you really are. So let me ask, who told you that you were average? Who convinced you that you were just here to survive? That your life would be small while others lived out their dreams? That voice didn't come from God. It came from the enemy. And the enemy's greatest trick wasn't convincing people God isn't real. It was making God's children believe they're worthless. Making royalty live like beggars. But that ends now. You're not just scraping by. You're not a mistake. You're not forgotten. You're here for a reason. When you were born, heaven didn't whisper, it shouted. Not because you're perfect, but because you're chosen. You carry the mark of God's purpose. You've spent too long thinking struggle is your identity. You've allowed fear to define your future. But God says, enough. Did David go up against Goliath like a coward? No, he remembered he was chosen. Did Esther risk her life before the king just hoping for mercy? No, she knew she was positioned by God. And you have to remember the same thing. You are marked for something more. Romans 8:15 says we're not given a spirit of fear, but a spirit that lets us cry, Father. That's not just about comfort, it's about authority. You're not a beggar at God's table. You're a child who belongs there. So many blessings have passed by, not because they weren't yours, but because you didn't feel worthy enough to reach out and take them. That stops now. because that unworthy mindset has affected everything: your health, your money, your relationships, your future. But when you start to see yourself the way God sees you, everything begins to change. Not just spiritually, but practically. Doors open, healing comes, resources arrive. Not because the world changes, but because you do. You stop begging. You start walking in what's already been given to you. So do one more thing. Write these words down. I claim my name. These words aren't just symbolic. They are spiritual. They declare to heaven and to hell that you know who you are. No more shame. No more confusion. No more doubt. You are not who you were at the beginning of this message. You've been changed by truth. And truth always requires transformation. You are not a spiritual orphan. You have a Father. He commands the seas, heals the sick, and raises the dead. And He calls you His own. Stop living by your past. God sees you through Christ's victory, not your mistakes. You were never meant to live in fear, barely making it. You were made to walk in purpose and authority. Yes, you've been through pain, but it wasn't to break you. It was to prepare you. Look at Nelson Mandela. He spent 27 years in prison. But when he came out, he was ready, not bitter, but bold. Helen Keller, blind and deaf, didn't let her limits define her. She spoke, wrote, inspired. Dietrich Bonhoeffer stood up for what was right, even though it cost him his life. Clara Barton didn't let her role as just a nurse stop her from founding the Red Cross and saving lives. These people didn't wait for perfect conditions. They moved and changed the world. Now it's your turn. Isaiah 48:6 says, "From now on, I will tell you new things, hidden things you do not know." This means the time is now. The secrets of heaven are being revealed, not to everyone, but to those ready to listen and move. That's you. So I ask you again, how many more signs do you need? How many more times will God have to shake up your world before you stop calling it chaos and start seeing it as preparation? Your pain had a purpose. Your delays were training. Your heartbreak was making room for something better. Just like Moses waited 40 years, Joseph was in prison, and David hid in caves. None of it was punishment. It was preparation. And now you are standing where they once stood, at the edge of your destiny. God is not asking for your perfection, just your yes. Not tomorrow, not next time. Today. What if everything you've gone through, every tear, every disappointment, every delay, was not for nothing? What if God has been saving something special just for this season of your life? Maybe He's been holding back certain blessings, relationships, and breakthroughs until now. Maybe your pain wasn't punishment, but preparation. Maybe what you've carried was never meant for others because they simply weren't strong enough, but you were. That doesn't make it easier, but it makes it meaningful. Now, here's a truth that might hurt a little. Not everyone will take hold of this moment. Some people will feel the stirring inside, nod their heads, and then go back to their routine like nothing happened. But you're not one of them. You're different. You're reading this for a reason. Because when God reveals something to you, He expects a response. Heaven isn't wondering if His promises are true. He's waiting to see if you believe they are. What you choose to do next matters more than you think. Remember when the angel came to Mary with life-changing news? She didn't hesitate. She didn't argue. She simply said, "Let it be done as you've said." And that moment of quick faith opened the door for Jesus to come into the world. Heaven is now waiting for your answer. This is your moment, your season. The time is not someday. It's now. Say it with me. I'm ready to receive everything. Those words aren't just a phrase. They're a declaration that you're ready to step into your purpose. Take a deep breath, not just a shallow one like you do when you're anxious or tired. Take a deep, full breath that comes from knowing something inside you is waking up. For a long time, you've been carrying labels that were never yours. Words from others that told you who you were. Too late, too old, not good enough. But none of those words came from God. He never called you broken, behind, or finished. In fact, God has always seen you clearly. Before you were even born, He knew who you were. He set you apart for something special. And here's what's even more powerful. Your calling didn't fade with time. It didn't get smaller with your age. It's only grown deeper and more powerful. The things you've gone through have shaped you, refined you, and made you stronger. So let me ask you, when was the last time you looked in the mirror and truly saw you? Not just your face, but the strength in your eyes, the purpose in your posture, the fire that's still burning deep inside? You are not weak. You are seasoned. You are wise. And none of that is by accident. What if your scars are actually signs that you survived? What if your wrinkles are not signs of aging, but proof that you've lived and learned? What if your gray hairs are like crowns that show perseverance? You didn't live through everything you faced just to fade into the background. That voice that keeps telling you it's too late for you, that's not God's voice. That's fear. That's doubt. That's the enemy trying to distract you from your calling. God often starts big things when the world thinks it's time to slow down. Remember Moses. He was 80 years old when he saw the burning bush and began leading a nation. Abraham became a father long after people said it was possible. Anna prayed faithfully for years and was one of the first to recognize the Savior. You're not past your prime. You're standing at the beginning of your most important chapter. You're not done. You're just getting started. Your journey hasn't disqualified you, it's equipped you. Those things you thought were limitations might actually be God's protection. Maybe the reason you didn't get distracted is because He kept you focused. Maybe your slower pace helped you see clearly. You weren't meant to blend in. You were chosen to lead, not by being loud or trendy, but by standing firm in truth and wisdom. You're not just someone's parent, grandparent, or neighbor. You're a spiritual leader. You're a prayer warrior. You're a person with deep wisdom that the world desperately needs. Why do you think you're still standing? It's because your purpose isn't finished. The world needs your voice, your prayers, your guidance. Psalm 92:14 says, "They will still bear fruit in old age. They will stay fresh and green." That's not just a nice saying. It's a promise from God that your life still has purpose and fruit to bear. You're not done being useful. You're not done growing. You're stepping into a season of spiritual power and clarity. For too long, life has tossed you around. You've reacted to losses, challenges, and changes. But that's about to shift. You're not just reacting to life anymore. You're stepping into the role of being the answer. Your prayers are working behind the scenes. That grandchild you worry about, your faith is surrounding them. That family conflict, your wisdom may hold the solution. That lost and searching generation, they don't need another influencer, they need you. Ezra 10:4 says, "Rise up. This is your task. We will support you. So take courage and do it." God has already put this mission in your hands. You don't need permission. You need courage. This isn't about wishing for the past. This is about stepping into what's next. You weren't forgotten. You were being made ready. So now, heaven is saying, it's time. Rise up and lead, not with ego, but with trust in God. If something inside you is waking up, don't ignore it. Say it out loud. I was created to lead. You're not showing off. You're agreeing with what God already spoke over your life. The world may be in chaos, but heaven is clear and it's calling you. Let's talk about something important. What will you do with the spiritual authority God has given you? Because in the next 7 days, something is going to shift. Not years from now, not someday. In 7 days, you'll begin to see yourself differently, not because your appearance has changed, but because your spirit has come alive. Things that have been stuck will start moving. Doors that were closed will begin to open. What felt delayed will be released. Hebrews 11:30 tells us that the walls of Jericho fell after 7 days of faithful marching. You are about to experience the same kind of breakthrough, not because of your effort, but because of your obedience and faith. You've been praying. You've been waiting. But now it's time to move. 7 is the number of completion. Your waiting season is ending. Isaiah 60:22 says, "When the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen." That time is now. The things that should take years, they'll happen quickly. The things that felt impossible, they'll unfold before your eyes. But it will take a step of faith. Like Joshua had to march before the walls fell, you must act before you see the outcome. So what will your faith look like? Will you speak it out? Will you write down today's date and claim it as the start of your breakthrough? Will you pray boldly, even if it feels strange? Now is the time to move, not after it feels easy, but while it still feels impossible. Hebrews 11:1 says, "Faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see." Your breakthrough is already in motion. Angels are already moving. Help is already on the way. The delay is ending. The shift is happening. This isn't just another message, it's a divine appointment. Before this moment, maybe you felt hidden, but now you are being revealed. This moment marks a line between who you were and who you are becoming. God isn't just giving you something, He's revealing who He made you to be. And let me end with this. You were never abandoned. Not once. You were being positioned. You were never left behind. You were being prepared. And now, heaven is speaking clearly over you. It's time. Rise up and lead. My dear friend, I want you to know something important. God sees you. He has seen every night you couldn't sleep, every time you quietly cried or prayed in the dark. You may have thought no one noticed, but God did. The Bible tells us in Psalm 56:8 that God keeps a record of all our pain. He collects every tear like a treasure. That means your sorrow isn't forgotten. Not one tear was wasted. Remember that time you cried alone in the bathroom so no one would see? God saw. When you lay in bed staring at the ceiling, too tired or broken to speak, God heard even your silence. He was never far. You weren't being punished during those times. You were being prepared. Sometimes the hardest moments come right before something beautiful happens. The deeper the pain, the stronger the purpose God is building in you. Don't listen to the voice that tells you you failed or that it's too late. That voice is not from God. The reason things feel so hard right now is because you're close to something new. The enemy often fights the hardest when he knows your breakthrough is coming. Even if you can't see it yet, God is already working on your behalf. Your blessing is nearer than you think. There's a story in the Bible, in the book of Esther, where a question is asked that still speaks to us today. What if you were made for such a time as this? Think about that. What if everything you've been through was leading you to this very moment? In the Greek language, there are two kinds of time. One is chronos, the regular kind of time, hours, days, minutes ticking by. The other is kairos, a special moment when heaven steps in and changes everything. You've been living in regular time, but now something sacred is happening. God is giving you a Kairos moment where your life can shift in a divine direction. This isn't by chance. It's not random. It's been part of a bigger plan. Not everyone hears this call, but you have. Why? Because you were created for something more. Even before you were born, your life had meaning. Your name was written in God's book. Your purpose was already alive in God's heart. And here's the truth. God doesn't need you to be perfect. He just needs you to say yes. He needs your trust, not your performance. Just like Mary, who said, "I am the Lord's servant. Let it be done as you say." Just like Isaiah, who said, "Here I am. Send me." Like Noah, who built a boat before anyone had seen rain. Or Elijah, who trusted God even when it didn't make sense. What all of them had in common wasn't that they were perfect. It was that they obeyed. They said yes. Maybe you're feeling something in your heart right now, something you can't explain. A feeling like something is stirring, waking up inside of you. That's not your imagination. That's the Holy Spirit letting you know that this message is meant for you. God wants to redeem everything you've gone through. He wants to bring beauty from the pain, purpose from the struggle, joy from the tears. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "I know the plans I have for you, plans to give you hope and a future." That promise still stands, but it requires something from you. It needs your yes, your full, open-hearted, willing yes. That's what unlocks the next chapter. Think about Peter, who stepped out of the boat and walked on water. Think about Joshua, who marched around walls believing they would fall. Think about David, who faced a giant with only a stone and faith. Their courage wasn't in their strength, it was in their obedience. Your blessing is waiting on the other side of your obedience. Right now, heaven is watching. The angels are ready. All that's left is for you to respond. Will you say yes? If you feel something inside you saying, "This is for me," then take a moment right now, quietly or out loud, and say, "Yes, Lord. I say yes to your timing." You're not here by accident. You're reading this because it was meant for you. Thank you for being here and giving your heart and attention to these words. Your time is valuable. Your heart matters. You are seen, loved, and held, not just by the people around you, but by God Himself. All those hard moments you went through, they didn't bury you. They planted you. And now, it's your season to grow. The soil of your life is breaking open, and something beautiful is starting to bloom. Everything you thought was working against you will now begin to work for you. If this message touched you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Someone else may be waiting for the same fire that's being reignited in you right now. Your words, your story, your faith could be the light that helps someone else find their way. I want to speak a simple blessing over your life. May God walk in front of you and guide each step. May His love protect you. May peace fill your heart where there was once fear or confusion. May your strength be renewed and your mind be clear. May new people come into your life, people who support your purpose, and may old wounds begin to heal. You're not walking forward empty-handed. You're stepping into this next season full of strength, wisdom, and God's power. Don't believe the lie that it's too late or that you've missed your chance. Your age, your past, your setbacks, none of them disqualify you. In fact, they make you stronger. You've lived, you've learned, and that gives your journey power. You don't look like everything you've been through because God has protected you. Think about this. Grandma Moses didn't start painting until her 70s. She became one of the most well-known artists in America. Colonel Sanders started KFC after 65. Harriet Dorr wrote her first book at 74. John Glenn went back to space at age 77. None of them were too old or too late. Their lives show us that purpose doesn't have an expiration date. Destiny doesn't care how old you are. It only cares that you're willing. This is your Kairos moment. This isn't just another inspiring message. This is the moment heaven steps into your life. Will you say yes? Because once you do, things will begin to shift. A week from now, you might look back and say, that was the moment everything changed. Thank you for walking through this message with me. Whether you read it with tears in your eyes or hope in your heart, know this: you are not who the world says you are. You are who heaven says you are. God sees your heart, your pain, your story, and He's not done with you. In fact, He's just getting started. The valley you walked through wasn't the end. It was preparation. The silence wasn't a sign of abandonment. It was a time for roots to grow deeper. And now, your season of breakthrough is here. As we close, I just want to thank you for showing up. You could have been anywhere, but you stayed. That tells me you're hungry for something real. That tells me your heart is open. And I believe that kind of heart is exactly the kind God wants to use. If you feel led to support this message or share it, please do. But even if you don't give or comment or click anything, know this: you matter. You are valuable. And you are deeply loved, not just by this ministry, but by the one who made you. As you move forward, take this blessing with you. May God's presence go with you every day. May He fill your life with purpose and peace. May your heart be steady, your thoughts clear, your steps sure. And may the wind of heaven carry you into everything He has planned for you. You are chosen. You are covered. You are called. And now, go forward, stronger, bolder, and more ready than ever. Amen.